Alright, so for this project we're going to cover the glass here with black vinyl. And normally in the kit that comes with it, you're going to get a tube that's got between 4 and 5 of the black vinyl sheets in them. So you're going to need those. If the edges are messed up, it's not a big deal because we're going to trim those off. So we need to keep them in good shape, but the edges are going to get cut off, so it's not a big deal. So you're going to need those. Normally it will come with a blue squeegee and a disposable razor blade. Unfortunately, at this one the kit was not there. So what we're going to use is, if the kit does not come, the store has some of these generally for putting stuff in the windows. You can ask them and borrow one. And we're actually going to show you how to make an upgraded version of this tool, because this is going to work better for the frosted glass. The other thing you're going to need, they always usually have paper towels. Always usually, great way to put that. Paper towels at the store and Windex, because we want to clean this so the vinyl will stick to it. And then you're going to need a razor blade if it didn't come with it. Most of the stores have a box cutter, or you can use a knife if you need to later. So what we want to do is go ahead and get the back of the glass coated with Windex, and you're going to want to wipe it off and then let it dry. You don't want to have a residue on it. So wipe it off real good so there's no dirt, because we really want the vinyl to be able to stick to it. And again, this is going to the back of the glass, the part that does not have the label on it. There's a 3D label on the other side. Do not stick it on that side. You want it on the back frosted part. So I usually wipe it off once, kind of let it dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and spray it one more time, just because these have been upside down and getting a lot of grime on them for who knows how long. And again, we want that vinyl to really stick to it. So at this point, wipe it off and try not to touch it with your hands after this, because this is the side that will be visible through the counter. So after your glass is cleaned, you're going to lay out this vinyl, and as you can see, it's bigger by probably about an inch all the way around. Now that's important because we're going to use that for two things. I'm actually going to stick it to the counter back here to hold the glass and the vinyl in place. And then the other thing it will be is, if I have to touch the vinyl, the side that's visible after install is actually the adhesive side, not the slick side. So you don't want to touch any part of this with your fingers that's going to actually be on the glass, because then it makes a visible fingerprint. So I'm going to go ahead, and if you see the edge of the glass here, I'm going to slide it back so it's pretty close to the edge of the counter, so that I can, again, I'm going to stick this down to the glass and then to the counter. So I'm going to pull this back, and this control tack just peels off. And again, we only want to touch the very edges of it, because we're kind of using this in a way that it's not designed for. And this back side is going to pick up any kind of dirt or fingerprints we put on it. So if it's going to be visible, we don't want to touch it. The other trick to this is, do not tear the backing off halfway. You want to peel it back as we go. The reason for that is you can end up with a line where you peeled that back, where you cut it off. So we're just going to, and this is tough with two hands, and again, we're touching the edges here that are going to get cut off anyway. I say that, there we go. So now that we've got that, go ahead and just stick it down so that you can move. And then I'm going to reach under, go ahead and come over here with the camera real quick. I'm going to reach under and get this started peeling back now that it's stuck to the counter. And this can peel up and re-stick a couple times, so it's not a big deal. So now that that's up, we're going to peel it up, kind of flush it out a little bit. I'm going to rub this one edge down just with my thumb, and then roll this edge over so that it attaches to the counter. So now the vinyl started on the glass and the vinyl is attached to the edge of the counter back here. So now I can pull this nice and tight with one hand and it doesn't move on me. So I've got the whole project right here. So now again, you can use this squeegee and it will work, but what we're gonna do is use the one I had in the store here that has this is the soft side of a Velcro on one side of this. We'll show how to make one of those later because this is actually gonna work better for that frosted glass. So I'm gonna grab this backing and go ahead and pull it a little over halfway back, and it'll wanna roll back like that, that's fine. And then I'm gonna take the squeegee that's got the Velcro part and start it right in the middle and just kind of get it started. And go in 6-8 inches and then go out to the sides. And you don't need to push super hard, just enough to get it to stick. And you'll notice it's kind of pushing air bubbles out to the sides like that. If you start to get one, you're just fine, just keep pushing it down. So I always find it easier to start with about 6-inch increments in the center and then just push out to the edges. So we'll push this out. There we go. And you can see it's pretty smooth now, even though we started with some wrinkles. So now we'll be able to reach under here, and again, we're just going to roll the backing out, and then we'll be able to again start in the middle. As soon as you start to get some wrinkles, just push those wrinkles back out to your leading edge. Now you'll notice if you use the other side of the squeegee that doesn't have the Velcro on it, it's easy to catch the edges and put too much pressure. The Velcro really makes it nice because it keeps it smooth. So we'll go ahead and we can pull the rest of this almost completely off. Hold onto it. We'll wipe all the way down the middle and out to our edges. So now, peel the backing off. We have the entire glass here. So I'm just going to go over it with a couple swipes. Again, it's actually better not to put a lot of pressure on it. We don't want to have a bunch of marks pushing through because the other side is what's going to be visible, not this side. So go ahead and wipe this down. That should be good. So I'm going to show you real quick another way you could do the starting edge on one of these. And it's very similar. I've already cleaned the glass. And again, I've got the glass at the edge of the counter so we can adhere it to the counter. What I am going to do though is peel this back just a bit. Getting this started can be a pain sometimes. And if one corner doesn't want to start, this has been trimmed down, so it's not always a corner that you can grab. So we'll try this other corner and see if it wants to cooperate better. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just peel this back, and again I can touch the edge on this part because I'm going to cut it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a little bit of a crease there to hold it back. Get this peeled up. So this way we will have a lip on here that we can start to stick down. Just take your squeegee with the sharp edge or the edge that doesn't have the Velcro on it and just crease this edge completely over. Again, I mentioned it before, you don't want to rip this off. It's paper backing. When you rip it, the fibers from the paper will drop onto the vinyl and you will have a very noticeable white line that you cannot get rid of. So don't tear this off the back. It just needs to peel off in one sheet. Now what we're going to do now, since this is this way, it's nice and rigid, we can flip it over, lay it down, and just start our overlap right here on the edge. We're going to go ahead and stick it down to the edge of the glass. Just the very edge, we don't want any of that part that we touched. and then roll it down onto the counter. Now, if we come around to the other side, we will start this one the same way we did the last one, just by grabbing that edge we started and pulling it back towards us. Again, I do about halfway. It hangs off the counter so it's out of the way, and we'll start squeegeeing from the center about 6 inches and then just out to the edges. Now I just encountered a problem right there, so we'll show you how to fix that real quick. This edge right here just got a bubble and that got a crease. There's a bubble here and there's a crease here. No matter how many times you do this, you're going to end up with one happening. Just peel up the edge of it to where it's gone, stretch it back down and stick it to the counter, and then squeegee over it and it's gone. Same thing with our one in the center. It's easier to fix it now than later. So let's go ahead and just peel it up past the defect, let it just kind of set, and squeegee it out. So that will get rid of that defect, and you can go right back going down the center, and then from the center out to the edges. And again, you can, if this sticks down wrong, you can peel it up fairly quickly and it'll reattach no problem. So see, even though we had a couple bubbles, it's nice and clean again. So we're going to finish this one up, may as well, in case we run into anything else. Again, just right down the middle and out to the edges. Now the other thing to remember is if you're going to put any pressure on this material, do it on an edge. I'm holding the edge here pretty tight so I add tension. That's on an edge I'm going to cut off. The marks that you see through the glass, because we're seeing the underside, the adhesive side that's not meant to be seen, any pressure you put on the material is seen. So if you end up with a fingerprint in the middle and you're like, where in the world did that come from? I didn't touch anything. It could have been when someone was cutting these down to size, because these come on much bigger rolls. It could have been when they're rolling them up and putting them in the tubes themselves, or anything like that. You're going to get a look that looks like the one we had before. We'll show a couple others at the very end. You can't get them perfect. We can get them nice. If you get one that's really bad, if it's got a crease or a bunch of marks in it when you put it down, like this package, I generally have 5. We need 3. You got 2 do-overs, so be careful with them. Take them to the next project with you if you need to, so you've got some backups as well. And I'm gonna go, like I said, normally this comes with a razor. We don't have one with this kit. There's a razor box cutter here in the store. I'm gonna go grab it and then we'll trim the edges. So normally, like I say, you got a disposable razor. All the stores generally have a box cutter, so if you borrow theirs, we use a box cutter, or a pocket knife works, but it's better to use a razor to cut the vinyl. It just gets a cleaner edge. So I usually just start in the back corner, and I'm just gonna put the razor in and then hold it up against the edge of the glass. And just let the glass be the guide. Don't touch the counter, just hold it up against the edge of the glass and trim it off. Once you're to the corner, we can pick this corner up, cut it at an angle, and the vinyl just peels up off of the counter. This you can usually just ball up and throw away. I'm going to use it for another holder here in a second. So again, we've got this back edge that's holding down to the counter. We'll kind of peel that up. And again, we can touch this part with our fingers because this is going to just get cut off. We'll stick the razor in, hold it up against the edge of the glass. Be careful your fingers aren't where the razor is going to go. And trim that off. So now we'll do the front. If you've already got one trimmed, it's easy to start this edge. And again, we're just going to use that glass to guide the blade, and it'll just give you a nice clean edge right here. This razor's kind of dull. The one that comes with the kit is actually really sharp because it's one of the new disposables. So our last edge here, it's best to kind of pick it up so it's not stuck. And then again, edge, and just let it guide. And if there's any little bit of hangover left, I wouldn't worry about trimming it. Just kind of take your hand, rub the edge of it, and that, once it's back in its channel, you won't even be able to see that. The edge that might be seen is the back edge, so trim that one real good because it's going to face the back of the cash wrap while the employees are. All right, so we'll go ahead and flip it over and see what it looks like. So if the back of your vinyl looks like this now, you've done a really good job. You may see some little tiny air bubbles like this, and you're probably tempted to take this and just rub them. Honestly, I would just leave it alone. If you've done this, those little bubbles are going to work themselves out as it gets a little hot and cold. They're just going to go away. This side looks really nice because this is the side 3M designed everyone to see. When we flip this over, you're going to see that because of the frosted glass and the way this attaches, it's not going to look as clean as this side, but it'll do our job. So let's go ahead and flip this over and see how it looks. So as you can see, I was extremely careful when I did this, and I didn't have any fingerprints on the back of the vinyl because I only touched the pieces that were getting tore off. However, you'll see along the edges, you might get a few little spots that kind of look like fingerprints. That's just from putting pressure on the back of that vinyl, and again, it's coming through the frosted glass. If you see this part where it's clear, it's nice and smooth. That being said, what we want to do is have as few of those pressure spots as possible because that's what shows up to the customer, and we don't want to see those. The little streaks that they see in here, those are going to fade, the fingerprints are going to fade. By having as few of them as possible for when we do the confirmation pictures, the better. So you can try pushing this out a little bit. The Velcro part of this you can rub, and you can see it'll kind of make some streaks, and that's actually better than having just a glaring fingerprint sticking out. And again, it's not really a fingerprint. You did a good job if it looks like this. It's just how it transfers through to that vinyl side. And you can see, hopefully on camera, as I'm rubbing the back of this, what it does to that frosted glass. And if you do this with this side, it's actually even worse, and we don't want that to happen. This is kind of giving a nice soft finish that's gonna look really nice. This looks much better than the other one that we did with the solid version of this squeegee. And that is pretty much all you need to do. If you need to do this other edge, you can just flip it around, kind of hang it off the counter, and we'll go ahead and we see, hopefully the camera's picking up these little marks right here. We can kind of fade those in by going like this. Now if you come back to this store in 3 or 4 days, these marks really won't even be there. As soon as we get some change in temperature, it will kind of even themselves out. But this makes for a nice clean counter for our new registers to set on instead of the under counters. Hopefully that's helped. Again, we'll do a short video on how to put a Velcro cover on your squeegee so that you can get a little bit better finish than this. So if you want to try that, you can, and we'll go from there. All right, so I'm going to show you another finished glass just because this one looks really good, but it does have one problem I want to show you. So we're going to slide this out to the edge of the counter and flip it up. I'm going to be careful not to put pressure on the back of it. When I flipped this over before, I put some pressure on it. And you can see where it set on the edge of the counter right here and made this line. Again, it's just from the pressure of me pushing it on the counter. But what you will notice on this one, we use that Velcro squeegee, and there is no fingerprints anywhere on it. I can't even, there's a little indentation right here. There's little tiny ones here that are not fingerprints. Again, any pressure that's put hard on the back of that vinyl is going to show. So you can do an awesome job and still end up with some dark spots. The best we can do is just minimize them. So kind of hopefully use the tips and tricks we've shown you in this, minimize those marks, and we'll be able to finish these up a little quicker and make everybody happy. Thanks for watching.